Greetings and welcome. My name is Michael Miller, and this is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, licensed presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving. Thriving as a Pilates instructor or a student. If you really want to get a take on whatever the subject matter is that I'm trying to cover on that particular day, look at both the recording here on YouTube and also go to Facebook and compare the two, because YouTube is my first pass at covering my notes and Facebook is my second pass. And sometimes there's a lot of range between those two passes. So 5 things today. It's Monday. Maybe that makes sense because I had 3 days worth of notes. Saturdays, Sundays, and today's. Before I get into the 5 things, I sent out an email last night when you're never supposed to do something, I guess, but it's interesting to me how my address list in emails covers a much different and broader and different, I guess, is good, and broader. People are on my email list versus those that are within the realms of Facebook and have access to me there, or you here on YouTube. It's just that it seems I have no fans yet in Google on YouTube. It's a recording, and I encourage you to do the same. For me, the ease and facility of recording live on YouTube, of going live at all, and then having a recording of that left over, build up your content is at least my strategy, and I don't know if I'll have any control over it by the time that it matters. So make the recording for the joy of the moment that you're in, is my philosophy, and have from that a recording where others may view what you recorded. Alright, so number 1 out of I needed to know more. I needed to know more. I needed to know why. I needed to understand the experience. And so from the MMP point of view, Pilates, why is Pilates what it is? Well, the reason why is because the what is the experience. That's why. And the experience is complete coordination of being, thinking, and observing in the performance of the mat. Because the mat isn't just an antiquated, old-time. The mat is a poem that purely reflects the reality that we find ourselves in, and an approach to our conditioning in order to be prepared for whatever comes up. because I needed to know more. I needed to know more. I needed to know why. I needed to understand the experience for myself. I wanted to have it right there in the palm of my hand. And then wanting that, being brave enough and foolish enough to want to extend that to others. In wanting that, it took me to coming up with a theory, or at least taking a point of view that Pilates has an essence of its own. And an MMP as a POV, that essence is an experience of being coordinated in your being, thinking, and observing. Maybe completely coordinated, because Joe used that word as well, right? So in that vein, here I am broadcasting, trying to help you understand that there is something to point to. There is an essence, and that the MMP point of view, I'm trying to help you see Pilates for what it is. Help you understand Pilates for what it is. Help you experience Pilates for what it is. In pursuit of the performance of the mat, it's the state of mind in which you do it, actually the state of being in the body in the moment of the doing, that matters. And all of that is about what? What's the target? What's the focusing lens to look through? Lens to look through. Control. Because that's what Joe named his method. So number 2, Pilates is all about you as an individual, being human. It's this bare bones encounter of what you've got in your humanity, in my opinion, right? And it's acknowledging capacities of being, thinking, and observing, and that in MMP the point is to coordinate those in your effort to pursue the mat. So I'm missing my point there about number 2. But I said what I said on my notes, and that's for whatever else is going on in your life. Pilates is just about you and just about the reality that you find yourself in. And that means the physics that your biology is seeking to survive in. If in yoga there's some sequence of exercises called Salute to the Sun, in Pilates, the mat is a sequence that is a salute to physics. Which nobody wants to seem to acknowledge or care about or have that matter. Doing Pilates takes your humanity, your humanness, as an individual, and embraces. It embraces the cosmos. And I say cosmos because it's in the utilization of observing. It's in the amygdala and hippocampus, feeding into the prefrontal cortex, from what's out there, right, to what's going on in here. As an individual, there's where surviving counts. This counts for surviving. Number 3, appreciate how wide the spectrum is. I mean, when you talk about Pilates, if you would just take 3 horizontal stripes of spectrum and look at one as equipment. So anything that's a piece of apparatus that you might use in the pursuit of Pilates, all of that is a whole broad stripe of the spectrum of participation in that word Pilates. And at the other end of the spectrum, I thought of insurance companies and those writing insurance. They do what they do within the spectrum that has a definite say in what happens within what's offered as Pilates. And then within that spectrum of what you can get insurance for and the stuff you can buy to help you pursue it, what else is Pilates? You can look at lineages and immediately get a tapestry of Pilates through lineages and the folklore that is passed down from one generation to the next. Or dance, or and the influence of dance throughout the whole history of and interpretation of Pilates through a dancer's mind, through a dancer's body, just through a dancer, and physical therapy as a part of the spectrum, and biology, just looking at the biology and fitness, cosmetics. See, fitness. There's so many parts of the spectrum where Pilates comes in as either something in and of itself or something that's used like cosmetics, mostly because there is no essence in itself other than what you take from it in a personal expression. Pets, within that spectrum of Pilates, applying or doing Pilates on creatures outside of a human being that exists out there, but I limit my interest to applying Pilates to humans for humans. Number 4, you don't want to pay attention. You don't want to pay attention. You don't want to pay attention, but you have to. Part of human expression, I think, is the urge to try what? To believe that attention doesn't matter. And some to the point where they refuse to try to pay attention at all because it's antithetical to the way they interact with their life. Pilates has within it all of sacredness in pursuing the ideal. The ideal being the performance of the mat and something resonant to that. But always aiming for that, because that is the conditioning, that is the sequence, the third thing, that's the sequence, which pursuit of performing that is the ing part, where you get lost in the pursuit of the performance, in the effort. Number 5. So all this talk and that email that went out yesterday was about folklore and theory. And I'm pointing out to you that all of Pilates is primarily folklore, exclusively folklore, which is word of mouth. And theory is a point of view that I'm taking that you can as well if you wish, and either embrace your theory or my theory or something, just to look at Pilates as a theory, because a theory is an explanation. What's passed down word of mouth is one kind of knowledge. I'm just pointing out 2 different kinds of knowledge. And if you want to survive for as long as you wish as a Pilates instructor and have that be enough, then know what I'm saying about understanding the MMP point of view, which is just one point of view out of thousands. But in this view, Pilates has an essence of its own, and based on that theory, seeks an ideal within the original work, just from what Joe wrote, just from this. 3 things out of Joe's book. His definition, his promise, and his sequence. I want you to see beyond only looking at folklore, only looking at Pilates as though it can only be passed down word of mouth and that there is no explanation to it. Within folklore. And that's why the theory is so much of a discernible difference. My email was about folklore being 1 scoop of ice cream, or 2 scoops of the same flavor of ice cream, and that folklore and theory are different scoops of ice cream. They're not the same. I think they're both delicious. And that in your pursuit of Pilates, for wherever you are, have the knowledge of the difference between folklore and theory, and allow theory, right, to, how did I say it? It reinforces you. All of your folklore is precious, and that's the culture of Pilates. Me too. But never for me so much pursuing a holy grail as just wanting to understand it. Wanting to know why it is what it... First of all, that it is something. And you've heard me say this already. So the theory is simple, and you can feel it. The theory is simple, and you can feel it. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Evaluate points of view. And then, in terms of adding 2 and 2, the email passed about the sheet of paper. Just the sheet of paper that says, "Hi, my name is Michael Miller. I offer a presentation that explains CT and MMP." Just those letters. It lasts this long with a fill in the blank. It costs this much with a fill in the blank. And it's paid in advance. Non-negotiable. And then there's 2 levels on the flyer. It's on my website. hermit.com/capital T small HE space capital O little FER for the offer .jpg, which is the file. Print it out, fill it out, hand it to somebody. And if they're interested in paying, the 2 things that are on that flyer that explain CT and MMP. CT is about biomechanics, and MMP is about Pilates. Everybody already knows about Pilates. They don't want to know anything. They don't want to know anything more about Pilates. That's great. Don't convince them. You don't need to convince them. And then the last layer or depth of information about what you have a presentation, the CT that's about biomechanics, the name of that is core new tension. And MMP, which is about Pilates, is Michael Miller Pilates. Maybe you've heard of it. Once you've handed that sheet of paper or shown that sheet of paper to someone, they can say yes or no right there in the moment, or nothing if you just hand it to them and leave. But in doing that, you're setting yourself up for controlling your own income stream. And I think in the times that we're in and that are going to continue to develop, it will be important to do that. I haven't set up Zelle yet, and I feel I need to do that now. But you can always support me directly at www.paypal.me/michaelmillerpilates. And if you'd like to actually be a patron and say you're willing to support for this much a month, step out there and be a Sapphire patron. I could really use one right now. To add 2 and 2, I encourage you to at least try it. It feels like you go down in flames in a way, but it also feels like an old saying of money talks and BS walks. Money talks and BS walks. And if it's about your business, don't be afraid to be Columbus and be Aretha Franklin. It doesn't have to be outrageous terms. It just has to be terms that says, if you're serious enough to want to know this from me, it's my business, and here's how much for how long. And I can present you with an explanation of the two things you really want to know about from me. Because that's my opinion to you, is the two things you really want to know about from me are about CT and MMP. And what you share with people, these two things, are one of, you can feel core new tension, and you can have the experience of complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. You can be in pursuit of that. It's fleeting, but the whole purpose of being there is to resonate with your ability to pay attention. Which is why I said in number 4, you don't want to pay attention, but you have to. And if you're not serious about paying attention, then really you're not serious about why I'm here, why you're there. And each instructor has their own tolerances for what they endure in a student. I encourage you to be observant of yours. Know how to add 2 and 2. Know how to offer a presentation. Know that you're offering a world that loves one flavor of ice cream, and they may want nothing to do with another flavor, but me to you, if it weren't for the theory, I'd have lost interest a long time ago. I'd have just been promoting core new tension and had little or nothing to say about Pilates, if it were only going to, if it could only stay as a realm of folklore, of word of mouth. You want to survive as a Pilates instructor? It's not how good you are as a brain surgeon. It matters how good you can help someone pursue the mat and along the way reach for the experience of complete coordination of being, thinking, and observing. Being willing to have it be something in and of itself and be able to point to it as an experience. I may be full of it, or it just may be my point of view, but the best part about my point of view is that I can encourage you to find the experience for yourself, or acknowledge it for yourself. Direct your thinking. Geist.